So, what's the best way to sell a house that needs major repairs? That's a great question. By the way, guys, I am Brad with Arborview Homebuyers here out of the Atlanta metro area. I am an active real estate investor. My company, Arborview Properties or Arborview Homebuyers, has been in business now for 10 years, and we have helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeowners sell their properties fast for cash. I'm also a licensed real estate agent in the state of Georgia. I've been licensed since 2017. I hang my license with one source out of Woodstock, Georgia. So I have the unique perspective of being a real estate agent and being an investor, so I can see through both sides of the coin. So let's talk about it today, which is selling a house that needs a lot of repairs and expensive repairs. A few years ago, you could pretty much sell anything and everything on the MLS, just listed on the MLS, whether it was a piece of junk or it was a nice house, and anything and everything would probably sell with multiple offers and probably sell for higher than listing price. And nobody really cared because there really wasn't a whole lot of stuff for sale, and pretty much anybody was paying any prices for anything. That ship sailed a couple years ago, and the market that we're experiencing today in 2026 is a whole different ballgame than it was a few years ago. Inflation is out of control. Interest rates are not as high as they were. They had gotten up to, in the 7s, sometimes almost 8% interest right now. I haven't got the daily interest rate report yet today, but as of Friday, 30-year mortgage rates were hovering right around 6.125% for a conventional loan. You can get under 6% on a government loan sponsored product. And then on a conventional, you can buy it down and get into like the mid to high 5% range. I was talking to my buddy on Friday who's a mortgage broker, and he was kind of saying the same thing. He's really waiting for rates to kind of fall. I think once interest rates fall kind of below 5.5% consistently in the low fives, we're going to see the market kind of pick back up a little bit. It's been kind of slow and sluggish. And from the inflationary standpoint, people are just tapped out. So they're looking at buying a house, right? So I'm talking about buying a house, and then obviously for every purchase of a house, there's obviously a seller on the other end of that coin, right? So from buyers buying a house, they're looking at this being their biggest investment they've ever made in their life. They're paying an interest rate much higher than what most people are used to, although 6% mortgage rates really aren't that terrible. My first house I bought, I had a 6.75% interest rate. That was way back in 2007. I was a youngin' back then. I was only 22 years old when I bought my first house. I'm about to turn 41 here in a few weeks. So, I had that perspective of buying my first house at 6.75. So rates are actually lower than that now, but we got so used to interest rates in the 3%. In fact, my personal house, I'm making this video in my office in my personal house. I'm, locked in at a rate in the 3s. When I built this house 4 years ago, I was able to lock it in low before rates got higher. So rates are high. People are looking at high mortgage rates, high insurance rates. I'm shopping homeowners insurance right now. I just got my renewal, and my homeowners insurance rates are more than double of what they were when we first moved into this house 4 years ago. So I'm shopping around to change my homeowners insurance. Property taxes went up a lot, although I just got my property tax bill on Friday, and my property taxes changed by like $20 compared to last year. So maybe we've hit that kind of ceiling, and property tax increases, maybe we'll start to see that sort of subside. And I think we will, because really home values have been flat now for the last 2 years. They haven't really changed a whole lot. So in turn, when home values are flat, property taxes don't typically go up because your values stayed the same. So anyways, people are looking at this investment. They're trying to buy this home, and then they're also looking at all the money they're going to have to spend after closing. So if you have a house that needs some major repairs, maybe you've got some siding issues on the house, you need a new roof, you got some foundation problems. We're doing a flip right now. House has some relatively minor foundation problems, but if that seller that we dealt with were to sell that to, a regular homeowner, I've had a lot of homeowners like flip out over some really minor foundation issues that really in the big scheme of things aren't that bad, but most people don't know any better. So they just hear foundation issues and they freak out and they run away from the transaction. And, they can be expensive, but some of them are fixable. So either way, you have all these major repairs. Maybe you need new decks. I mean, we deal with that. We're starting to see that a lot with homes that are 20 years old. They have the original deck from 20 years ago. And now you got maybe a back deck or multiple decks, and you're talking, it could be upwards of, my pricing to replace a deck nowadays, just a simple, let's say a 10 by 10 deck. I'm paying my guys we're all in for about $6,000 or $7,000, depending on how high the deck is and whether or not we have to do stairs. About $6,000 or $7,000 to replace just a small 10 by 10 deck between the cost of materials and the cost of labor to do it all. So that's not exactly cheap. HVAC systems, maybe if you have multiple systems, right now we're paying more than double what we were paying a few years ago. You're talking about I just put a new system in a house just recently that we sold, and it was just a simple 2.5 ton system. It was a 15 SEER or 16. You can't do a 14 SEER anymore. I think it was either 15 or 16 SEER system. So one of the kind of lower tier SEER systems. And this was right around the refrigerant cutoff, and they still had some of the old R410A refrigerant. And then now you have the new refrigerant that's more expensive than the old refrigerant. Then as of last year, I think you had to do it. We were able to source an older, like a new inventory unit that hadn't been installed yet that still had R410A, and we installed it in a house. And I still paid $7,000 for a 2.5 ton basic bear. This was like, American standard system. This is like Trane's budget brand stuff. $7,000 for a new system. So, and I've got another house that we're working on right now, actually the same house with the foundation issues. I've got to replace 2 units in that house. It's going to be, $14,000, $15,000 to replace both HVAC systems in that house with new systems. So none of that is cheap. So if you're selling a house today and you know that you need to make these repairs, how is the best way to sell it? Okay, from a listing on the market standpoint, there are ways where you can list the property and you can offer to make the repairs as a condition of closing. That's very common. Roof replacements. By the way, have you priced a roof lately? The last roof I did, I put a new roof on a manufactured home, a small 1,300 square foot manufactured home. It was $7,000. We had to replace some decking and do a little bit of minor framing work from a rot area around a chimney that had leaked. But it was $7,000 to put a new roof on a 1,300 square foot double wide manufactured home, right? Roofs aren't cheap. Actually, the house I mentioned with the foundation issues, we put a new roof on that house a few months ago. It was $11,000 to replace that roof. And my brother-in-law is a roofer. He owns a roofing company. So I got his discount and I still paid $11,000 to replace this roof. It was wild. So I wouldn't be surprised to see $15,000, $20,000. If you've got a big roof, you're upwards of $20,000 to replace a roof nowadays. So anyways, let's get back to the story. So you got to sell this place. You can escrow the repairs. Basically, you can make them a condition of closing, and then you agree to, basically the closing attorney will set aside some money in escrow as part of the sale. And that money will be held back and the repairs will be done and the contractor will get paid out of the escrow at closing. So you have to find a contractor that's willing to agree to get paid at closing. So the closing attorney will basically just cut them a check out of the closing proceeds, because nowadays a lot of homeowners have enough equity in their house so they can agree to sell the house and then part of that money gets held back. So the end check that they get, the homeowner's not actually physically having to cut a check to the contractor and then getting reimbursed. It's just coming out of the closing proceeds at closing. That's very common in the real estate world, although where you run into problems with that is the extent of the repairs that need to be done. And sometimes the lender will want to see evidence of those repairs done before closing if it's a serious issue, life and safety concerns, that sort of thing. And then you're really going to have to find a contractor who will agree to do the work, have it completed before closing, have it inspected, especially if they're doing like an FHA or VA loan or something like that. That's going to have to be the appraiser is going to have to come back out and re-inspect the property. And that also costs an additional inspection cost. And I don't know if they've changed it, but I believe the seller has to pay that, not the buyer, if it's an FHA product. But don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case. So you got to pay for a reinspection of it, and then they won't fund the loan. There's a lot of, so it can get a little complicated. So make sure that if you are selling a house in the traditional fashion that does need some expensive repairs and extensive repairs, that you have a good real estate agent who knows how to navigate that world and how to structure that. And you have a good list of contractors who are willing to get paid later, because a lot of contractors kind of want to get paid immediately, and they're willing to get paid later because they know they're going to get paid. Really, they will get paid because the closing attorney is the one who cuts them the check out of the escrow funds. And also a lender on the buyer side who understands how to, you've got to have a lot of people who kind of understand how that process works. Now, let's flip to the other side of the token. You have a house that needs a lot of repairs. Maybe you don't want to fiddle with any of that process and go through the hassle with that. Also, if you're listing it that way, just also understand that if your house needs a lot of repairs, even if you are offering to make the repairs as a condition of closing, that will scare away a lot of buyers who either don't know that you can escrow it as part of repairs. They're scared of the fact that this house needs repairs, but at the end of the day, all houses need repairs, and so, even new houses, old houses, houses in between, all houses need maintenance, money, and repairs. That's literally just part of home ownership. Nothing lasts forever. Everything wears out and needs to be replaced. So there's that. But those people are going to get scared away. And you're going to have to realize that you're going to get less traffic and less showings in an already slow market because that house may need some major repairs. So, and if you don't have the money to make those repairs prior to listing, then you might want to go to the other route, which is selling to an investor like myself, selling to, obviously I'm a small mom and pop investor. And then you have the iBuyer, like Open Door and OfferPad. I don't even know if OfferPad is still buying houses. I know like Redfin was losing money. They're out of the game. Zillow's losing money. They're out of the game. All the big hedge funds that were making these corporate investors that were buying houses and making these crazy, they're all out of the game too. Newsflash, most of those investors, you still hear about it on the news, and I laugh when I hear these articles, and this new housing bill and government says they're going to prevent these investors from buying these houses and da-da-da. Guys, most of them quit buying houses in 2022. So it's been almost 4 years since they have been buying houses now. The vast majority of them stopped acquisitions 4 years ago. Some of them are still kind of buying, but they're not buying at nearly the rate that they were buying before. And the ones that are still buying are not paying the same prices that they were paying many years ago. In fact, most of their offers are actually not that great. So most of the time it's owner-occupant buyers who are buying houses in this market. It's been that way for a few years now, but I guess the news is kind of delaying in that reporting because I guess it sounds better or whatever, but let's talk about the investor standpoint, selling to an investor. Obviously, you may have a house that needs tons and tons of repairs, and maybe it's not really fit to put on the market. Now, you can list anything on the market. You can list a house that's been burned down. You can put anything on the market, right? I'm not discouraging you from putting it on the market, but sometimes going and doing that, if your house needs too many repairs, pretty much your only buyer, even if you list it on the market, is going to be an investor, right? Most regular homeowner, owner-occupant buyers who are going to buy this house to live in it are not going to buy a house that needs tons and tons of repairs. They just can't. They don't want to deal with it. They can't get it financed. They don't have the cash to do it. Maybe they don't have the expertise to do it. So really, you're only left with investors. So what does that mean from a market standpoint? Well, that means you still have to pay commission to your agent and the buyer's agent. Some people say, oh, you don't have to pay a buyer's agent anymore. They changed that. Well, the reality check is, nowadays, if you want to sell a house, you really should offer buyer's agent commission because honestly, in my opinion, buyer's agents do way more work than listing agents do in the market. and they deserve to get paid too. And I pay them on my listings. I always offer a commission to the buyer's agent too, split the 3% share. I do it because it gets you more traffic on your list. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter whether you agree it or not. The reality is you're going to get more traffic on your listings if you offer a buyer's agent compensation on that. I'm just bottom line. That's the reality of the world we live in right now. So anyways, so if you're going to pay this commission out, you're going to pay the commission to them, you're going to pay the commission to your agent, and then your buyer is still going to be an investor, right? So you're going to get the same offer that you would get as if you went on Google, which you're probably on Google right now, and you're looking for someone to buy your house for cash. The numbers you get and the offers you get are probably going to be about the same amount, plus you're going to have to pay commissions on top of that. If you sell a house with needing a lot of work to an investor like us, just directly, we don't charge you commissions. I'm not taking any, even though I'm an agent myself, I'm not taking any sort of commissions on the transaction because I'd just be putting money from one pocket and putting it in another. It'd be kind of silly. I don't charge a commission on that transaction, so there's no point in doing that. So an investor obviously doesn't necessarily care about the extent of the repairs. Obviously, that all factors into our formula as to us calculating our offer. By the way, I'm going to fill you on a little industry secret. Let me tell you how we come up with our offers. Some people are like, oh, you made me a lowball offer or whatever. Here's my formula. What can I sell the house for? I do market research, run comparable sales. Once this place is all fixed up, what will I be able to sell it for realistically in the market we're in today? Minus what it's going to cost me to hold it and sell it. So I got commissions. I save 3% because I list my own stuff, so I don't take a commission on my own sales, but I still have to pay 3% to the other agent. So I've got that as a cost. I have insurance. By the way, that's gone up a lot. Taxes, utility cost, cost of money, whether it's my money or I have an opportunity cost of my money, or whether it's some of my investor lenders' money. I have lender costs in there. All those are costs. Cost of goods sold, as they say in accounting, right? And then I have the cost of the rehab, all of the repairs I have to put in it. I'm going to reduce the price by the amount. If I've got to spend $40,000 in repairs, by the way, I can usually do repairs for a lot cheaper than you as the average homeowner can do repairs. We get better pricing from our subcontractors because we do so much work, because we just get better pricing. I don't hire the same guy that you hire when you go on Google to build you a new deck. I have a deck building crew that's actually probably the same deck building crew that works for the guy that you hired on Google, and then he just pays them to build the deck for him, and he marks it up and then charges you and shows up in his nice truck and a polo shirt. I just hire his crew directly and they build the deck for me, right? So I get everything I'm buying everything at wholesale prices when I'm renovating these houses. So I can generally do it for a lot cheaper. So again, let's go back. We've got what can I sell it for minus what it's going to cost me to sell it, what it's going to cost me to hold it, minus what it's going to cost me to renovate it, minus my profit. I'm not a non-profit. I have to make a profit. That's the way that I put a roof over my kid's head and food on the table and pay my employees and all of the above and pay for all of the expenses. By the way, it's very expensive to run a business like we do, like tens of thousands of dollars a month in overhead costs, surprisingly. So all those costs bake into that. That's what I offer you. It's literally what can I sell it for minus what it's going to cost me to sell it and hold it, minus my rehab expenses, minus whatever profit I want to make on it is what I offer you. That's how we come up with our formula. It's no secret. It's not some secret thing. Every investor does it. Now, one investor over here might be okay with a $20,000 profit on a $100,000 rehab, and one guy over here might want 30 or 40. So your differences in the offers might be that. And then you also have wholesalers in there who are baking in their margins because they're really just reselling the deal to another investor, and they mark it up a little bit to make their money in the middle. So there's all of these costs involved. So I know this was a super long video, but this is kind of a complicated subject, which is selling a house that needs major repairs. You can list it on the market or you can sell it to an investor. Selling it to an investor is going to be the easiest route always, and selling it on the market is always going to be the way you make the most amount of money for your house. So I'm going to let you decide which one you want to do, whether you want to list it on the market. There are creative ways to escrow the repairs and all of those things. You're always going to make the most amount of money that way, or you press kind of what was it, Staples or whatever has the easy button, right? You press the easy button. That marketing campaign was genius, right? You press that easy button and you sell it to an investor such as us, such as Arborview Home Buyers, and we'll make you a quick cash offer. We'll close in 2 or 3 weeks, and we're not going to ask you to fix anything. We're just going to buy it completely as is, even with the stuff in it, right? So those are your options, guys. I hope that helps you make a decision. If you're interested in getting an offer on your house, you can go, or if you want me to list the house for you too, I'd be happy to do that as well. Put on my agent hat. Like I mentioned, I list, I'm with One Source out of Woodstock. Be happy to talk to you about that. Or we can go the cash offer route. We'll make a cash offer. We'll buy it, close in a few weeks, make it easy peasy, lemon squeezy, as they say. You can go to our website at arborviewhomebuyers.com, fill out the form there. That'll send the information over to a member of our team. More than likely, Missy will be calling you. We're a small operation, so I only have a few employees. And then you'll probably send me out to the house. I'll be the one that comes out to your house to meet you and see you, make you the offer on the house, and we'll go from there. So thanks again for checking out this video, guys. I'm Brad with Arborview Home Buyers. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.